The word lunatic itself literally comes from luna, the Latin word for moon. And truly, I have never met an ER nurse, a police department employee, or a bartender who doesn't believe it's always strange when there's a full moon. Hey, beautiful soul, welcome to Spirit Speakeasy. I'm Joy Giovanni, Joyful Medium. I'm a working psychic medium, energy healer, and spiritual gifts mentor. This podcast is like a seat at the table in a secret club, but with mediums, mystics, and the spiritual luminaries of our time. So come behind the velvet ropes with me and see inside my world as I chat insider style with profoundly gifted souls. We go deep, share juicy stories, laugh a lot, and it wouldn't be a speakeasy without great insider secrets and tips. You might even learn you have some spiritual gifts of your own. So step inside Spirit Speakeasy. Have you ever noticed how much folklore and superstition is built around the full moon? Werewolves transforming under her light, witches casting spells and flying across the full moon, stories of restless sleep and vivid dreams and strange behavior. The full moon is honored through our art in everything from famous paintings like Van Gogh's The Starry Night to wall hangings and coffee mugs. And I've even seen a lot of permanent artwork in the form of tattoos of the full moon. She is even in our love songs. Let that give you something to think about next time you're bored, how many songs mention the moon. And really, the word lunatic itself literally comes from luna, the Latin word for moon. And truly, I have never met an ER nurse, a police department employee, or a bartender who doesn't believe it's always strange when there's a full moon. Welcome to our part 2 episode of Moon Power, where we are focusing on the full moon. Last episode, we talked about the new moon, her dark, quiet beginning phase. Today, we're talking about her opposite, the full moon, the bright one, the visible one, the one that gets all the attention, fame, glory, full moon parties, full moon chaos, full moon everything. And honestly, there's a reason she captures us the way that she does. A full moon is the moment she's fully lit, completely visible, holding nothing back. There's something almost bold about her in this part of her phase. She's not hiding anything. Just like last time, I want to say this up front, working with the full moon or the energy of any of the moons isn't about superstition. It's not meant to be another to do to add to your busy list. It's about noticing a rhythm that's already happening around you just below the surface and choosing on your own terms how you want to move with it, how actively you want to work with it. It can be energizing, it can be clarifying, it can be just fun and an excuse to step outside, breathe some night air, let something go, let something in, let's get into it. So, just like last episode, we are going to chat a little bit. I'm going to give you a little bit more about why I love the moon. We're going to talk about what the full moon actually means spiritually and what you might have heard. And then I'm also going to give another menu of options to work with the energy of this full moon or any upcoming full moon. I mentioned last time that I've been working with the moon energy in a very active and intentional way for a little over 15 years and loving her since I was a kid, long before I had language for any of it. I have some very clear memories, almost like snapshots of memories. And I'm wondering if you have the same. I know this way of remembering is common for a lot of us, especially sensitives, where you have maybe a real photograph, but maybe just a photograph in our mind from specific memories. And one of my very specific memories around the full moon is being at the shore, the Jersey Shore, not the one from the TV show, but Ocean City, one of the places that is so meaningful in my upbringing and in my life, where I would get to go with my cousins in the summer for what now feels like magical experiences. But I have memories of standing on the boardwalk up above the sand, looking out over the ocean with big, beautiful, very low hanging full moons, sometimes white, sometimes golden light, and the way it would stream down over the oceans with her crashing waves and gentle movement in the deep sea. And really just watching the way the light glistened off the ocean is such a firm snapshot in my memory. Of course, sometimes thinking maybe we saw a dolphin or maybe we saw a mermaid's tail or what might be out there in the depths of the sea in the dark of the night. So that is one of my very vivid memories of the moon. And actually, in the beach house where we stayed, we were just a few blocks from the main part of the boardwalk, and we stayed there every year from the time I was very, very small, a whole group of us. And on the full moon nights, the way the moonlight shone into the window actually made it really hard to sleep on certain nights. So I have a lot of childhood memories of the full moon. And I have another very specific memory from about high school time of it being, you guys, most of you know, I grew up in New England in Boston, just outside. And I was being driven home by my high school boyfriend at the time in his car. And it was a night where so much snow had fallen. And it was one of those crisp, incredibly cold, but totally still nights. There was no one on the road. It was just us. I even could tell you the song that was playing on the tape deck or whatever stereo was at the time. And I have this vivid memory of this full moon almost like following us. And I used to think she was ushering me home, is how I thought of it, with the streams of light kind of touching the car and ushering us from block to block as we drove from my house to his for my curfew. So I have so many memories like this of the light of the full moon and gazing up at her as almost a faraway friend. I'm so curious if you have memories specifically of the full moon, because I do think that's often the one that we're paying attention of. I've tried to photograph her so many times. And unless you have a superpower lens, photos of the moon, as you probably know, like rarely do her justice. She's not always the most photogenic from a regular camera or even iPhone these days. So I have always felt this really interesting, deep connection with the moon. And when I entered a little bit more intentionally into the spiritual work and spiritual practice, I really got interested in ritual as well. Kind of, little things that we do for ourselves in our personal private practice. And it's so fascinating because a lot of rituals center around the full moon, which is why I wanted to start with the new moon on last episode, because I don't think she gets enough glory for all of the wonder of the new moon. But the full moon is often like the big show, right? And we know that there are different full moons throughout the year, some that look so much closer to us and amplified, some that seem far away in the distance. But maybe you haven't actually ever thought about or took a deep dive into what the full moon actually means. And yes, for those of you who are watching the video version, which is now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and my website, I am wearing my moonstone jewelry ring and matching necklace in honor of Luna herself, the moon. So, at the most basic level, the full moon actually is the moment when the moon in the sky is fully illuminated opposite the sun, and she's showing us her whole lit face. Like we talked about last time, in the most practical way, the moon reflects the light of the sun to us. So it's sunlight reflecting off of her, and that's what illuminates her like a spotlight. And when she is full, in the way that we talk about it, it is really her being fully illuminated, fully lit, and showing herself almost like she's center stage in full spotlight and glory. Spiritually, though, this is the second part of a bookend of the lunar cycle. And the full moon energy really is about things like illumination, culmination, like a culmination point, a crescendo, if you will, visibility in spiritual themes. It also is about things like outward expansion and sometimes intense emotional energy kind of coming to a head or coming to the light, if you will. Full moon is about time for release, of letting go what is no longer serving us. It is often also associated with harvest and celebration and seeing clearly what we have been tending to and growing for the earlier parts of the cycle. Full moon is a time for gratitude. And if the new moon is the inhale, the full moon is the exhale, the release, the fullness. Neither phase is better than the other phase. You need both to keep breathing, right? You need the inhale and the exhale. And she just represents a different part of our cycle that is also glorious. The full moon's a time to feel and be aware of the deep gratitude for the many blessings that you have and everything that you've experienced in your current cycle. It's also a powerful time to recommit yourself to projects and relationships that mean the most to you. This is one of the reasons it's amazing that we get to have a full moon and a new moon every month, because we get busy. Our world seems to be busier and faster and crazier than ever. So every month, there is this full moon marker as a time to recommit yourself to the projects that you might have lost track of or gotten so busy that you weren't pouring time and attention into, or the relationships that you're realizing are so pivotal and important to your life, and recommitting to the way you show up in those, just like the full moon shows up for us. So I encourage you to let the light of the full moon illuminate what is working for you and amplify your intentions and actions in those areas by getting even more clarity, even more understanding about the most aligned ways to move forward in your life. And on the opposite side of that coin, we can also allow ourselves to have more clarity about what is not working under the light of the full moon, what's not serving you, or what you're ready to let go of. And the full moon can help with deep release. And really, this is directly connected to and aligned with the emotional work that you would have potentially done in the dark moon or the new moon cycle. By the time that we reach the full moon, we are ready to release, sweep it all away, clear out what's not serving us. Release can include things like letting go of bad habits or stress and negative energy. It can be letting go of negative patterns or negative self talk, even. It can be clearing out old emotions or an old way of greeting our emotions or the happenings of our life. Even sometimes releasing people or situations we have outgrown. It can even be where we're willing to release our own illusions or fears or anything at all we are ready to let go of. The full moon can support us by being in her light. This full moon phase is considered a manifestation point where all the work we've done through the rest of the month can be fully activated or charged, it's often said, and come to the light to reach a turning point or to help us reach a new level. If you think of the moon as representing our emotions and intuition, and imagine it like a cup, the moon and water in symbology often have a lot of the same meanings, and the moon is about emotion. So if you think of the moon's energy like the moon is a cup, when she's full, that is when the cup is full and spilling over. So some people feel even more emotional or more aware of emotions at the full moon. Some people feel their spiritual gifts are a bit stronger at the full moon. You can even track yourself with this over time just for fun. More on this later. It is the ripening of all the emotions and energy since that dark new moon phase part of the cycle when we were going within. And the energy of the full moon is very, even though it's bright and shining and out front, it's also like romantic and relaxed and like hair down, open heart, flowing and overflowing abundance, but also can be about themes of revelation and liberation. So, here is the work that you may have heard of with the full moon. And then I'm going to talk about how to kind of track it in your own work if you're a spiritual practitioner. And then we're going to dive into the very practical and fun menu of how you can work with the energy of the full moon. So, have you ever heard of people, the way it's often said is quote unquote, charging crystals or charging water to make moon water or to bless and consecrate crystals in the full moon. Well, here is what that actually means and why you might want to do this top layer of spiritual work. Spoiler alert, once you hear this, hopefully you will recognize and realize that the full moon is not the only time you can do this type of work with water or crystals. Just putting that out there. Crystals, for example, are taken by people that work with them often and put in the light of the full moon. Now, this can be outside if it is a type of crystal that's not porous, because remember, at night in most places it gets a little damp, or yeah, that's when moisture creeps in, and some crystals are not safe around water. They need to stay dry. They're more porous. Selenite is one of those, which is a working moonstone, actually. Like Selene, we talked about last time from Greek mythology. So most practitioners will actually put their stones or crystals in a place that is actually inside. So if you have a table that's near a window, or sometimes people have like a little mudroom or a little front porch area that's a little more protected from the elements. But the truth is, they don't even have to be directly under the light of the full moon, because we're all in the energy of the full moon, even if like it's a cloudy night or it's a storm, or you don't happen to have a window that faces the side that the moon is on. And the other thing I always like to mention when I talk about working with the moon is we always think about the moon at night, which of course is when, especially the full moon, is most visible and most beautiful. But the moon is available during the day. She is there. Have you ever gone outside, especially at the full moon, and seen like a full moon in the clear blue daytime sky? I definitely have. So you can do this also in a daytime if that's just what works better for your schedule. This should fit with you and feel easy and fun. So many people find it beneficial to put the crystals in this moonlight so that it clears the energy from the crystal, kind of an energetic washing of the energy to release and bless and be refilled by the moon energy. Because often people are working with crystals, right? So the full moon light can provide an energy reset, for example. Crystals absorb energy from their environments. So if you have a crystal just hanging out in your office or your home, it does absorb energy from the happenings around it. Some people actually work with crystals in their work, either by wearing them themselves or placing them on or around other people. And they do pick up or absorb that energy. So putting them in the full moonlight can kind of do a cosmic reset, a clearing, a washing of that energy from those stagnant emotional vibrations that linger in the stones themselves. And it can be crystals like we think. If you're watching the video version, I've got a really beautiful crystal on my desk behind me, but it could also be just regular stones. Most of you know by now, if you've been here for any length of time, I don't just love crystals. I also love like different usual and unusual stones, like little rocks that I have found across my path along the course of my life. If you do any type of work or holding with them, even if it's like a pocket stone, you can clear that energy under the light of the full moon. Nothing bad will happen if you don't, just reminding you. Another reason that you might want to put crystals in the full moonlight is amplification, because the moon represents the highest energetic peak of the full lunar cycle when it's the full moon, which a lot of practitioners believe kind of supercharges the crystal's natural metaphysical properties. So most crystals, if you look them up on Google or if you've been here and we've talked about them, they have specific properties that they are known or thought to support with in our own work and human experience. And while it will clear the stagnant energy or the emotional people energy out of the crystal, it also kind of again magnifies and returns them to full strength of their own qualities that they represent in that specific stone. So it's a lot of fun to work with them. And another thing you can do with that energy of the full moonlight is like aligning the crystals or stones to your particular intention. So the full moon can really charge crystals, not just with their own energy, but with a specific intention. Maybe it's that you're trying to complete something and you're wanting to come to completion. Maybe it's about illumination and more wisdom coming to light for you, or really working with trying to be very connected, to be aware for your intuition when it's nudging in, you can put those intentions either just like by holding the stone in your hand and saying or putting your emotion of that intention, or you can even write it on a little paper and put the crystal or stone on top in the full moonlight, and that will charge it with that intention. So that is why people do it with crystals. Why do they do it with water and create what is known as moon water? It's largely the same answer. So it can amplify intentions. So often when someone is making moon water, you'll put a little jar of water. It could be anything from like a completely sealed bottle of bottled water, depending how long you're going to keep this water, to just like a little jar, whatever you have of water, depending how you're going to use it. If you're going to drink it, you want drinking water, obviously, I would hope. But there are so many things you could do with this infused water. So some people, when they work with the full moon water, want just the energy that the full moon represents. And as another layer to that, they also will sometimes see like what sign the moon is in every month. As the moon moves around the sky and around our calendar, the moon is in a different sign. So for example, we not long ago, as I'm recording this, I think the last full moon we had several weeks ago was in Aquarius. I could be wrong. That could have been the new moon. But I think it might have been Leo. Sorry. But let's just use Aquarius. You can infuse it with the full moon and qualities of Aquarius. So, being about the community, forward thinking, advances in technology, bringing people together, clear communication for the benefit of all. So, depending on what work you're wanting to do, you can infuse intentions into the water, and then that moonlight, the full moonlight, will amplify those intentions in the water. So it can be the moon itself, right? The energy of like coming forward and being expressive and being fully seen and being bright and gratitude and all of those qualities. Or it can be also coupled with the sign that the moon is in, or also your own personal intentions. It can be emotional cleansing because the moon governs and rules the water and emotions. Full moon water is created often specifically to assist in emotional release, for example, or washing away what's not serving us, or helping us recognize those emotions we're not willing to see so that we can do the work we need to do and release them. So, depending on what kind of vibe, if you will, of moon water is what your intentions or what you're charging it with. And then how you use the moon water. Obviously, if it is open, you would want to refrigerate it if you're going to be drinking it. But people will use it to water their plants and get the blessings. People will kind of put a couple drops in tea or soup or anything you're cooking. Really, you could put a couple drops of drinking water in. You can use it to put a couple drops in a spiritual bath, for example, or even in your shower water or your face washing water or in your lotion that you're putting on your body. So there are a million and one ways to use moon water if it feels fun and exciting to you. I know most of you have seen or heard of these type of practices, so we're going to go into some other varieties in just a minute, but I wanted to address these because I feel like they're so commonly talked about, and I see YouTube videos telling people to do these things all the time without giving any explanation as to like why and what are you doing with this. And the thing with moon water is a little bit goes a long way, because if you think about if you had a cup of clear water and you dropped one drop of blue dye in that water, it's going to turn the whole cup into blue water, right? Same with moon water. You only need a drop or two and it will infuse that whole whatever you're putting it into with that energy, those intentions. So just know, and it can also be done in other spiritual work. If you're someone that does any kind of prayer work or work with candles, you can kind of anoint candles that way. If you do crystal grids, let me know if you want more deep dives into any of these topics. These are all things that I love doing in my own work, but I know it's a little outside of mediumship. So just let me know what you guys want. But you can use it in just about any way. Get creative. And a little pro tip here. Because of the way that moon water works, most practitioners believe it's not advisable to charge or clear moon water or crystals in the eclipse moon energy. We've got some eclipses coming up. We are in eclipse season as I'm recording this, and certainly when it releases and beyond. So, just a little pro tip, most practitioners do not recommend charging moon water or crystals in eclipse moon energy. Why? This energy is thought to be more chaotic, less stable, essentially. So, while I do believe that it is okay to use eclipse energy for certain purposes, it's not technically the traditional use or the way most people would use moon water or crystals in a practice. It's typically thought of as like, don't do it in the eclipse energy. So, do with that what you will. Now, while these ways of working with moon water and crystals under the full moon are both very supportive, again, today we're going to go beyond these techniques and go even deeper into ways that you can harness the full moon energy for your life, your advancement, your spiritual gifts growth, your personal development. Just like we did for part one in the new moon, which if you missed it, I will link it in the show notes. It should be just the episode before this one. And there's so much value to working with the new moon. But we're going to dive into a similar menu of options for the full moon from three angles: supporting your physical body, supporting your emotional body, and supporting your spiritual body. And quick reminder, while the energy is strongest in a different way or most present in our visible sight line at the full moon, the energy is always present for a couple days before and a couple days after the actual date of the moon. So if it doesn't fit in your schedule to do this on the exact day of the full moon, you could do it a couple days before or after. The moon is very forgiving, and there's no pressure of how to work with this. So first, I want to go into something expansive for your physical body. Where the new moon asked you to become quiet and go within and nurture your body in the stillness, the full moon really asks the opposite. It asks for movement and shaking things up and shaking things loose, right? So it's an outward expression with your physical body to really bring in this moon energy. So, part of a full moon movement ritual that you could consider is putting on some music that makes you want to move in whatever way your body is capable and able, in whatever way feels good and natural. Just let your body do whatever it wants for, it could be a few minutes, like the length of one song, it could be an hour, the length of a whole playlist or many songs. There's no like choreography, there's no doing it right. Dancing, swaying, shaking, kind of ecstatic dance, shaking your arms, your shoulders. This is more about somatic release, releasing energy and emotion through the movement of your physical body and allowing your physical body to discharge whatever it's been holding, the same way the full moon is asking everything to come to the surface to be released. I will tell you the version of this one that I like to do, and I do it quite often, actually, sometimes more than once a month. And the truth is, this movement will release a lot of energy. And then there is some some time that we do need to cognitively process or process in our emotions. But this really gets the energy moving and gets the some of the really tight or necessary energy discharged. So I'll say it that way for you. What I personally like to do is really pick some music that is for me, I call it more like expressive dance. I'm using that term loosely to all my trained dancers out there. Expressive dance. I like music that really connects into my emotions. So I have a few different playlists that I use for this. It's really fun and can be energizing to do this music with any kind of like primal drumming, like drum beats, or even like drum and bass. I'm a drum and bass girly. So if you love drum and bass, that's a wonderful time to use that type of music. It can be music that connects to your childhood or to connects to loved ones that really just helps you move your emotions. Music for me, and I know for a lot of us, really touches a different place in my emotions that is beyond words. And then I just move my body as it wants to move. Sometimes it's with the music and sometimes it's not with the music at all, to be honest. So it really is just whatever feels right to you in any given experience of this. And it could be different every single time you do it. You could use different music and explore different types of music, different tempo of music, fast or slow, some with a lot of drum and bass, some with more airy and flowing music, right? It's totally up to you and what feels good to you. And it could be different every time. So sometimes you will feel the emotions actually lighting up in you, in your body somewhere, and rising to the surface. And then the motion of your body helps to discharge them. This can be, again, anything from challenging emotions to emotions of love, gratitude, or even just the fullness of the human experience kind of running over inside of you, spilling out from within you. And you just let it move by moving whatever parts of your body feel good to move in whatever way you're able. So this really is for everyone. You can also, I'll stop harping on that. I really love the freestyle dance version of this. It is probably one of my favorite of this list, and it maybe is the one I do, maybe not the most, but like pretty close. You can also do a release bath. So this is similar to the spiritual bath that we talked about with the new moon, but it's a totally different intention. So remember, we talked about baths can be relaxing and nurturing, or they can help us do wonderful spiritual work. This is more of a working bath. So as the water fills in the tub, instead of infusing intentions, almost imagine infusing it with the openness to release, for something to be washed off or taken away. It could be tension or old patterns, something you are done carrying inside of you. Epsom salts works really beautiful here. And you could consider adding something even a little brighter or more energizing. Whereas last time we talked about rose and lavender and jasmine, night blooming jasmine, as being supportive. Here, because it's the full moon, you could consider adding something a little brighter and more energizing. Could be like citrus essential oil or lemongrass or rosemary. Please hear me when I say only a couple drops. This is medicinal oil. You want to use the purest kind. You can usually get it at a health food store or online. But you do want it to be 100% pure therapeutic grade. And only a couple drops goes a very long way. You could also put some full moon water into your bath in the spirit of release and washing away or being filled with gratitude, right? A little pro tip here on this one. You might not know this. I mentioned last time I trained for a long time as an aromatherapist as part of my body work time. And one of the coolest things about certain essential oils like citrus is citrus essential oil lives in the skin of the citrus fruit. So where some oils, they have to put it through this whole distillation process to get the essential oils out of whatever leaf or root that it needs to come from. With citrus oil, it's just right in the skin, and those are cold pressed, meaning when you press or rub your fingers on the skin of a citrus fruit, that is the purest essential oil. So if you wanted to make this the most simple, you can take like a vegetable peeler and peel some peels off the edge of a lemon or an orange, or grapefruit can be a little acidic, but whatever citrus fruit you would like. And all fruits have their own spiritual properties as well. So you can really brighten it up just by putting some lemon or orange peels in here. I do like it with a peeler because it gets less of the white pulpy stuff. And then just like you would if you were making a martini, you just kind of twist the skin, and that little spritz that comes off, that is the essential oil. So a little home witch pro tip for you. So, as another physical space healing, clearing for the full moon, you can do actual cleaning and space clearing under the full moon. Because remember, releasing. So, this addresses not necessarily your body, although you could do laundry for your clothes as well. This is more about your physical space, home, workplace. Uh, I mean, it can be your body, it could be your car, it could be any physical space that you spend time, your couch, or like this is the office section of my home. I would do it in this section. So this is where we are breaking out things like sage and Palo Santo or clearing spray. If you're someone who, like me, is sensitive to things that burn, I would need it in a spray form. You can create your own spray, or there are a lot that you can buy from places like Etsy or health food stores. And really, this is, first of all, of course, doing like a generous dusting and actual cleaning of the physical space, right? Because we're clearing away. And then it's a perfect time to Also, like toss old mail and do some little bit of decluttering. And really, the intention here is what can you release? And if you wanted to do sage or spray, you are also releasing energy from the space and doing like a full spiritual deep clean of your physical space. And this can also mean, after you do the sage, doing the Palo Santo or a different spray to infuse that space under the light of the full moon with things like gratitude. And you can continue gratitude in the space by the way that you take care of your space and your things. The intentions are the most important here, particularly with this physical body part or physical space part. It's really just not mindless tidying. It is really the intention of releasing what no longer serves you. Maybe for you, that's just dust and clutter that month, but it can be anything that's no longer serving you. And as the other side of that coin, the acknowledgement of gratitude as part of this. We did do a full space clearing, like spiritual energetic space clearing episode. So I will link that in the show notes, or you can just search for it wherever you're watching this. Because if you really want to take this space clearing portion to the next level, I did a whole episode on many ways of how to do that, which is wonderful to do in the full moon. Okay, moving on. Something for the emotional body here, as how can you actually work with this energy of the full moon? You can do some version of a write and release ritual. That is essentially writing down what you are choosing to let go of, what you are deciding you're ready to let go of. This could be anything from a habit, an old story, a grudge, a fear that you have, a belief or a restriction that no longer serves you, anything you want. You just write it down on a piece of paper. And there are two options with this one. You can tear it up as a way of like releasing the energy of what you wrote. Or if you please use safety, if you're going to burn something, you can burn it. We would want a fire safe dish, a well ventilated area. We want it to be totally safe and contained. Please use your wisdom if you're going to do this. And if you're someone that is bothered by burning things, candles, smoke of any kind, just tear it up. It does the same thing in a less toxic way. So by burning or tearing, we are releasing the energy of that thing that we wrote down on the paper. And imagine as you're tearing it or burning it, giving that item or that acknowledgement or that emotion, kind of like we're going to give it to the full moon. We're going to release it. We're going to release it to her, and she's going to transmute it into your life for healing in a positive way. The physical act of destroying the paper often does something that the writing alone doesn't in the energy. So play with it and see how you feel. And then at the end of the ritual, you will fill yourself up with gratitude, almost imagining that moonlight filling up your personal cup of gratitude, and act as if it is already done. You can even close with a little "and so it is" if you would like, and kind of close your ritual that way. Number two option for your emotional body on this little menu I've created for you is a gratitude inventory. Since the full moon also is thought of as harvest energy, it's not just release. You can write down everything that actually has bloomed in this cycle, or even like so far this year when you're under the full moon. Even small, unglamorous stuff can go on this list. It can be the very simple day to day things that have shown up for you or gelled into your practice. Anything that you feel grateful for or want to give gratitude around. There's no judgment about like how big or small of a item you're writing on your list. Just write the list. And really, the full moon energy wants both what you're celebrating and what you're releasing. And often both will show up in our emotions in those moments when we're doing this kind of work. It's nice to write it down so you can go back and look at it later. But it's also fine to do this as like a walking expression or contemplation, meaning like if you wanted to go for a nice walk, whether it's outside or just around your place that you live, is totally fine. And just kind of letting these items of gratitude make a mental list. You can also do it that way. It is nice to write it down, but don't let that be a hindrance of why you don't do it. And just like last time, as part of this emotional segment of our menu, I have some journaling prompts for you. And I will again put the journaling prompts in the show notes. I know it can be so hard to remember, and many of you are doing chores or driving or exercising when you're listening to this, you've told me. So, not necessarily the best time to write something down. So, check the show notes for these journaling prompts. Here they are. One of the first journaling prompts is, what have I been carrying around that's ready to be put down? Also known as of today, I'm done with blank. And you can, this list is for you. It's not for anyone else. So you can just let it flow out of you and write whatever comes up. As of today, I'm done with blank. The next prompt for journaling, and again, just like last time, you can do one of these, you could do all of these, you can do them in tandem with some of these upper items that we've already talked about. It's lovely to do them together. The next journaling prompt is, the part of my inner self talk that's no longer working for me is blank. We all have inner self talk, even me, even after so many years of doing this work. There's always more for us to release and let go of and come to clarity with. So, the part of my inner self talk that's no longer working for me is blank. Next journaling prompt: if I let myself be fully seen right now in one area of my life, no editing, no making myself small, what would that look like? And you can just focus on one area of your life and see what comes up for you. The power of journaling with some of these prompts is, if you just start writing, you might not realize what's in there that's going to come out. And that's part of where the magic lies. And that is what the full moon is supporting you in, bringing to the surface, illuminating for you, right? And the final journaling prompt on this list is, what am I ready to celebrate about myself without waiting for anyone else to notice first? Also known as, I wrote it two ways, fancy and just real talk. Also known as, I'm proud of something I'm feeling good about, something I want to love myself for is blank. So it could be something I'm proud of, something I feel good about, something I want to love myself for is blank. And really just allowing it to be a different version of gratitude. And maybe some things will come to the light about you within yourself that you are not acknowledging, that you really could be celebrating yourself for or celebrating with yourself right now. Okay, the last tool that I want to give you is something illuminating for the spiritual body. This is again a meditation. It is not something I'm going to walk you into in a guided way to listen to my voice, because I just want to tell you the setup so you can do with it what you will. You can do it for 10 minutes, you could do it for 40 minutes, whatever feels good to you. And again, reminder, you can do this in a window under the night sky with the full moonlight streaming down over you. But don't let a stormy night or clouds or the fact that you only have time in the day hold you back from doing this exercise. You can do it in the daytime, 2 days before the full moon, 2 days after, any way that feels good to you, you can do this. So essentially, you want to find a place where you can sit and be uninterrupted if possible. I know that's a stretch for some of us. It could be near a window if that works. It could be in the car if that works, but it could just be in a comfortable place for you, wherever that is. And really just allow yourself again to come all the way back into yourself. Take some breaths, close your eyes, come into the center of your head, the center of your auric field. And then once you settle down within yourself, I want you to imagine expanding your energy outward, kind of feeling the edges of yourself in your body and then in your personal space bubble, and letting that expand just a little more. And as you do that, energetically be starting to feel or sense kind of out there, so to speak, that energy of the full moon above you. You can imagine it in your mind's eye. You can feel it or sense it or just know it. I think we all have some personal reference for that full moon, what it feels like, looks like, sounds like, whatever it is for you. And just get a sense of that overflowing moonlight spilling down over you, over your entire auric field, over your entire physical body, your emotional body, fully lit, filling you up, holding nothing back. And as you imagine this light pouring down over you, let it be like an energetic waterfall, filling you up and then overflowing, just like the way when you pour water into a cup, it eventually overflows and keeps going. And let that light move through your physical body, your chakra system, if you're familiar with it. Let it move through you to release anything that is ready to release. You can imagine it dissolving that static energy or that energy that's not serving you into its brightness. You can imagine it like it simply can't survive in those dark places of you. Like everything is coming to the light, releasing, being magnetically drawn out of your space into that light of the full moon. And you can let that same moonlight illuminate everything that is already working, all the ways you are showing up, all the things you have learned, the things that are already blooming in your life, already yours, and let them be amplified. Those things you have to be grateful about, let them be supercharged the same way that you would charge a crystal or a moon water in the light of the moon, and just really letting anything that's not serving you release into that light, but also anything that is serving you come to your awareness now, be amplified, magnified, and attuned, resonating and vibrating within your body all the way to the surface. And then just sit in that energy as long as you'd like. You're not being asked to become something new here. You're just letting yourself be fully energetically seen exactly as you are right now. And continue to breathe through that meditation. And when you are ready, you can take some nice breaths. You can offer some gratitude back to the moon and gently open your eyes. You can do that with or without music. Little pro tip here for the meditation section. We often, again, think of the full moon only at night, since that's when she's usually visible to us, but the full moon energy is around you in the daytime too. So some people can just carve out a little time for themselves in the day in a way that they can't in the evening. And maybe you want to do it in the evening and the day on different instances just to feel the difference for you. Feel if it works better for you or feels more palpable for you in the daytime or in the evening time. And it probably will change over the course of your life. It's whatever works the best for you. This is your time and space and about you. And I did mention earlier that I would kind of cue you into this like tracking with your spiritual gifts. I would just tell a quick little story here before we close out. There is a mentor in the world that I was lucky enough to study with on a handful of occasions. Her name is Mavis Patilla. She's in the spirit world now. And she was the first person that invited me to demonstrate on a stage with her. There's a whole story about it. I was terrified, nervous. And one of the things in our conversations that she gave me as a droplet of her wisdom, pearls of Mavis's wisdom, was this idea that over the years she had tracked her mediumship and her spiritual gifts, and she noticed and felt for her gifts seemed more on top or flowed differently in the full moon energy. And a friend of mine who was also there said that was true for her too, as she and I both kind of studied it over time in our own life. If you know me at all, it's very much on brand. But for me, what has been so interesting, I mentioned it briefly last week on the new moon episode. For me, I find my gifts closest to the surface or differently flowing at the new moon, not the full moon. So I'm so curious for you, if you are a spiritual practitioner or a therapist or a teacher or someone who speaks publicly in any way or does any sort of spiritual practice. It could be something like yoga. It doesn't have to be mediumship, although it could be. It could be any version of any of that I just mentioned. Or even if it's like you as a team leader, say maybe your work isn't spiritual, it's like boardroom, but you do work in front of a team sometimes or speak in front of a group, just kind of track by the moon cycles and feel, when do I feel my most in my power? When do I feel my communication just flowing from me a little more? Is it closer to the new moon or is it closer to the full moon? This has been such a delicious gem for me in the entire time that I've been working since I heard that. And it is something I pay attention to and still kind of track in my own work. So that is a little something secret about me. So, as we wrap up, here's what I want to leave you with today. Everything you just heard, the movement, release bath, letter burning, meditation, none of it's homework. You don't need to do it all or any of it. Just do what is right for you. And just know that any version of you paying attention to yourself is really powerful and really matters. And if any of the work that we mentioned above, or even in the new moon episode feels like pressure instead of an invitation, just put it to the side and come back when you're feeling more spacious or more interested, more curious, whether that is next month or 6 months from now. This episode will be waiting for you, and so will the other one. It doesn't make you any less connected to the energy of the moon. The moon is already there, working in silence in the background, supporting us on our journey, whether we acknowledge which phase of her we're in or not. And she'll be full again next month and new again next month. So, whether you light a candle or do anything or not, there is nothing that you can fail at with this. None of it's a test or meant to be superstitious. It really all is meant to enrich your work, your personal development, and the way you feel and sense and know your connection. What I really hope you take from these two episodes isn't a checklist, it's permission. Permission to do your own work quietly in the darkness or in the quiet of the day without needing anyone's permission or anyone's acknowledgement, to celebrate the areas that you have grown and the things going on inside of you, to let go what you have personally outgrown, and to take up your own space without shrinking or apologizing, to be more fully in your power. That's really the whole point, isn't it? Hidden, then revealed, quiet, then celebrated. That's how the moon works. And all of that really echoes the divine feminine in each of us. You don't have to choose between being someone who goes deep into private, dark, unseen, mystical work. And you don't have to only be seen as someone who gets to shine openly, publicly, without apologies. You are both and everything in between. And the moon's just there to walk alongside you, however close or distant your relationship is with her, because that's just what it means to be in the rhythm of this planet. And it's something ancient and cyclical, and not something that is linear or needs to be finished. So, however you engage with the energy of the moon from here, whether it's deeply or occasionally, it's more than enough. This type of work just offers a deeper layer to your own experience whenever you feel available for it. And if you want to continue this series and dig a little deeper into how to work with the rest of the phase, we only talked about the new moon and the full moon. Those two culmination points. There are also ways to work with the in between energies, which are called waxing and waning. It's when the moon is building to that overflowing cup and when it is decreasing into that dark phase. There's work to be done there too. So if you're interested, let me know and I will make some more episodes about it, or anything that we have talked about today. It's amazing and part of all of this spiritual work that there are so many layers and levels and ongoing ways to work with this energy of the moon behind the scenes in our own lives. And if you would like to work with me personally to hear from loved ones of yours that have already crossed over to the spirit world, that unseen world, or to get details and guidance from your own soul about your own life, you can find out all about my one-on-one private sessions. I work in person in San Diego as well as over Zoom with folks all over the world. And you can find all that detail right on my website, joyfulmedium.com, under the Work With Me tab. And I hope to see you next week. And remember, there are weekly reading episodes that come out every Friday on the podcast. So there's so many ways for you to tune into the energy all around you. And I am just here to help guide you and support you on your way. Big hugs, lots of love. Thanks for being here with me once again inside Spirit Speakeasy.